Linux. First part is some basic theory part. Okay. Then again, we'll go with the little commands. So we'll try in one or two ways of commands. So which is easy for you, please tell me. Okay. So by afternoon 3 o'clock, you must install the Linux. Okay. You can put 1 GB also if you don't have more RAM. So put a 1 GB, no problem also. Okay. So first of all, we have to go to theory. First of all, when you learn anything is as an operating system, first you should know what is OS. What is OS? What is
Operating
OS?
system.
Operating system. It is nothing but a piece of software or a program, you can say. Okay, software or a program. What operating system will do? It interacts the hardware. It interacts with the hardware and
Software.
user. Okay, and also run applications, user applications, services, other hardware interactions, like anything, applications and services. Application and services are applications, operating system, like that. You can say services. Or application is better option. Okay. Interacts with your hardware. You have a hardware. Hardware means computer is there. Your computer don't have any OS, not a Windows, not a Linux, or not a Unix. You want to give instruction to your CPU. You can't give. So we need a certain interface. Earlier days, we don't have OS. That time, people use certain kind of instruction directly they give with the keyboards. Of course, very earlier days, they use a cables. Okay. So as a startup program, like a preloaded program is there now. Like you start a computer earlier days, that is vacuum tubes. It take almost 1 day, 2 day kind of stuff. Once it is fully charged and start working, you have to connect with the cables. So like, yeah, sorry, first we have to connect the cables and start, and it is comes with certain function. Like you want to add something or subtract something like that, you have to do program. By hardware programming is there. Later on days, so transistor versions, IC versions, and now it is microprocessor versions are there, right? So 8085, 8086, 8081, 8080 kind of time onwards, we start giving a direct instructions from the keyboard. Once you load the instruction, then we have to do inputs. Okay, so finally, whatever it is, we got assemble language. Assemble language, maybe you forget or not, I don't know. So, but you can see, like it is look like this one. In English, it is move a comma b kind of stuff. For example, move a comma 22 or 10, whatever it is. Move a comma 20. Okay. So what is that meaning is put a 20 into accumulator A. Okay, that is like a assemble language. For example, you put a add a comma 5. Add 5 to A. So A value is 20. So 20 plus 5. The language is look like this one, and there parallel hexadecimal will be there. So if you want to do this, do you want to run this instruction for move A, there is a hexadecimal number is there. Okay, so they're in a hex code. You have to convert into hex code, and then you have to give to the PC. So later on days, only the person who is a programmer knows how to load a program and how to use it. So if you want to use a computer, you must be a programmer. So later on days, it is further developed the assembly language, operating system with assembly language to C language. C language came into market. Now it is purely a highly level language. Using C languages, people constructed a operating system. One of the operating system is Linux. Sorry. Okay. So using C language, people build a certain operating system. Okay. One of the operating system is Unix operating system is also there. Okay. So that is we'll go next time. So Unix is built based on assembly language and then C language. Unix operating system they build based on assembly language earlier. When C language came into market, they built based on a C language in a Bell laboratories only. So this is just introduction, just what is OS only, but a lot of things are there. That's why I'm not going to Linux, Unix now. I will go, not now, but you have to cover few points. Guys, SOS, simple operating system. Simple operating system. NOS, network operating system. When different type of operating systems are there, one is simple operating system, another one is network operating system. Simple operating system is very simply say it's a desktop OS. It is nothing but it's a kind of desktop operating system or workstation operating system kind of stuff. Example, Windows operating systems like a Windows 10 or Windows 8, like that. Okay. DOS, Microsoft DOS operating system. These are all desktop operating systems. It's a simple operating system, desktop purpose. Network operating system is nothing but a server OS. What are the server OS? Windows Server 2019 or 2016, like this. Linux, Unix, and other server operating system. There is other servers also there now, IBM related, mainframes related. Operating system. Simple operating system, network operating system, okay, desktop operating system, server operating system. Next, task based. Simple operating, these are OS types, but task based operating systems also there. Single user, single task, okay, single user, multitask, multi-user, multitask operating system are there. So what is it? Single user, single task. Single user, multitask. Multi-user, multitask. Okay, these are mainly three types based on the task. Single user, single task, multi-user, multitask, single user, multitask, single user, single task, like that. Best example is MS-DOS. Microsoft, single user, single task, only one user, only one task at a time we can able to run. Single user multitask. Best example is Windows, all operating systems, Windows desktop and as well as a server. Windows, all type of operating system, Windows Server, Windows Server, Windows Desktop operating system. Multi-user, multitask. Linux operating system, Unix operating systems, basically multi-user, multitask. What is single user, single task means? I'm running here Notepad, and there is a PPT is running, and there is a Outlook is running. See, this is Chrome is running. This is called a multiple task I'm running. But if I can able to do only one task, there is no background task only. We are giving input, and input is taken, done. Again, we are giving input. So that is single task. So you are telling only one work we can able to do it. If it is finished, then only we can do another work. Okay. So once first task is finished, the second task will run. Our first task is completed, like that it will there. Only one user, not a multiple users. Yes, you can have a 10 users, but only one user at a time you can able to access. That is called a single user. For example, my Windows system, we see in already Windows operating system. If one user is login, you can't log in with any other user. You have to log out from that user and log in with the other user. Parallelly, two users cannot work in a same Windows system. If I want to, I have another account in my laptop. I have to log out from this one and I have to log in with that one. Okay, that is like a single user type. Only one user can log in at a time. Multitasking. I can do multiple tasks. I am doing multiple tasks. I have one WhatsApp is there, Edge browser is there, Google Chrome browser is also available. Okay, Teams and other PPTs, everything is running. Multiple tasks I am doing. So that is called a Windows OS. Multi-user, multitask. Linux and Unix operating systems, multi-user, multitask. In a one single Linux, at a time, multiple users can able to log in. Directly means physical system, direct physical system means direct Linux system. You can able to log in with the multiple users through remotely also. Multiple users can able to log in remotely. So you have a Linux server, and there is a 10 users are running connected to Linux at a time, they can able to access. So that is a multi-user, multiple task. Of course, multitasking we can able to run. Okay, so this is a operating system, guys. OS means it's nothing but a software. Not like your application is different, software is little different, interacts with your hardware and users. So we are getting user interface, right? So this is my user interface I'm getting. And I have a hardware, it is interact with the hardware and user. I'm running application, I open Notepad, I open a Chrome browser, I open a WhatsApp, I open a Microsoft Teams. So that is, I'm running an application, there are several services are running. Initially, operating systems are build based on assembly language, later it is they build based on a C languages. Different type of operating system are there. Simple operating system, network operating system, desktop OS, server OS. Okay, like that. Next one is your Windows. Okay, so that's a simple operating system. Network operating system. Simple operating system means simply say a desktop operating system. Network operating system is a server OS, like a Windows servers, Linux servers, Unix servers. Okay. Next, single user, single task, single user, single task, single user, multitask, multi-user, multitask. These type of operating systems are there. Just we have to categorize OS for understanding Linux and Windows difference. One point is covered here, Linux and Windows. Okay, single user, multitask, multi-user, multitask. That is the one of the difference. Okay, of course, there must be history of Unix is also there, guys. Unix is built by Bell Labs. Guys, anyone tell what are the thing came from Bell Labs? Means which language? Multitasking, multi-user. Original AT&T Unix and whose developed started in a Bell Labs. Ken Thompson, Dennis Riches. Okay, so others Nokia, Bell Labs, Thompson, something is there. Okay, programming language is C and C++. The C language is also developed in a Bell Labs by Dennis Riches. Okay, so initially Unix is developed in a assembly language, then it is developed in a C language once C language came in the Bell Labs. Okay, Unix is thing is very less distributions, but there is certain distributions are there like AT&T, BSD. Now we have a free BSD. Solaris. Solaris by Sun Microsystem. Solaris by Sun Microsystem. It is open operating system, means anyone can use Solaris. Okay, fit for maximum different type of hardwares. Like you can take a Windows and install in Windows in your laptop or desktop kind of stuff. Like that, Solaris also you can install in a regular desktops also. Okay, it's not desktop operating system, server OS only, but it is. It is by Sun Microsystem. This I remember. Anyone tell what is the another one came from the Sun Microsystem? Tell me.
Sir, Java, I think.
Yeah, Java. Okay. Java. Correct answer. Java is from Sun Microsystem. Now Sun Microsystem is under Oracle. Sun Microsystem is under Oracle.
Okay.
Just I'm trying to find other distributions. So it is AT&T, Ken Thompson, Dennis Riches, and other people are in the Dell Labs. Various variants are there: Solaris, AIX, HP Unix, BSD, and fewer example. This is the point I try to find it. Okay, AIX. It is belongs to IBM. Okay. Problem with the Unix is, like for example, Sun Solaris is open system, means open type. It meaning is you can install any hardware. Does not mean everywhere you can able to install any hardware, means any regular systems, like in a virtual machines you can install, physical machines you can able to install, like Intel, AMD, like that. Regular systems you can able to install, but these are all you can't install. Okay, Unix, these are a different type of versions are came, AT&T, BSD, that is starting one only. Okay, this is only works in HP, a particular type of systems only. This is only works in IBM systems only, mainframe systems only it will work. Okay, so only in a particular systems only it will work. So like that. Okay, so it is not a completely open source, guys. Okay, there is another one, it's a POIX kind of stuff is there. I'm not going anything. One of the distribution also we can say is a Linux. From Unix only Linux is came. Unix like a systems means all your Linux operating systems are Unix like a systems only, but little different. Linus Torvald is a guy person took Unix, part of Unix kernel, and develop Linux kernel. Okay, so Linus Torvald, that's it's a Linus Torvald become Linux operating system. So Linux is not even operating system, it is a part of Unix kernel, take a part of took part of Unix kernel and develop Linux kernel, and he made it as a open source. Lot of people think open source meaning is free operating system, or a free operating system means open source. Guys, difference is there. Unix is a open source operating system, but not free operating system. Of course, Solaris is available, anyone can able to download kind of stuff is there, but Unix is not a what we can say, not a free operating system. It's a paid version. It is that a hardware specific one. Only the companies will give you what to do. So once again, we'll go back. What is open source? What is open source? Source code of a program or application or software or operating system is available to everyone. Okay. Open source means does not mean free operating system. Open source meaning is the source code is available. How you build an application? I build an application. For example, this is a application. AnyDesk application is there. I have AnyDesk application. I'm using it. Good. But how it is built? What is the internal program? Application means the inside there is a certain program is there, no? That is certain program will be there. The program is available. We can see directly a program. Okay. I have a PuTTY. I have a Google Chrome. GoToMeeting. Okay. VMware Workstation. Packet Tracer. Okay. SQL Developer. Oracle VM VirtualBox, Microsoft Teams, Apache NetBeans, Eclipse. Like that, I have a lot of applications are there, right? But I don't know what is the code inside of that application. I'm using application, but I don't know what is the internal the program code. I don't know. What is the open source? The code is available to everyone. Source code, the code is available. The program is available to everyone. So, and as per the license, as per the license, as per the license terms, anyone can take source code of Linux, develop and distribute. Okay. Linux is a source code, open source. So obviously, as per the license terms, there is a license terms are there. So I will give you my source code. You can develop and keep it yourself only. You should not distribute. You don't have any distribution rights. That is one type of license term. Okay. Another type of license. Okay. You can take my source code, develop the source code, and give it to me. I will distribute. Or you can sell it. Okay. You can use it as a free only, free software. Don't put a price on it. Like different terminologies are there. So that's why I put a as per the license terms. Different type of license. Anyone can take source code of Linux and develop and distribute. If you want to develop a Linux kernel, you can take a Linux kernel. You can develop as per your requirement. You can distribute with your name. You can distribute your name. That's why I've written as per the license. The license type is GPL type, General Public License. The terminology will come up, GPL, General Public License. Okay. GNU. This is GNU. GNU means GNU not Unix. So Linus Torvalds, it is a GNU type of operating system. What is GNU means? GNU not Unix. Okay, it is like infinitive loop. Okay, GNU means G means GNU, N means not, U means Unix. Again, what is GNU? Again, like that. Okay, so GNU not Unix. What is a not Unix kind of stuff? It is not a Unix. It is Linux. It is a Unix like operating system, but it is not Unix operating system. Okay, it is a kernel and developed by Linus Torvald. It is a open source. Anyone can able to download Linux kernel, develop their own. And distribute as per this one because of Linux having so many kind of stuff. Okay, so for here it is Linux kernel or kernel version. What is Linux kernel version? Current kernel version. Anyone knows? Very simple. Linux kernel download. You can directly download the kernel. So go to here. So kernel.com. To download. Don't download, guys. Don't download. To download Linux kernel, So this is the latest release. Of course, 5.18 it is showing that is not a stable version. Like it is like not a stable type of version. It is a stable version. 5.17.4. Latest kernel version is 5.17.4. This is the latest kernel version. Okay, so here it is, git kernel.org, kernel.pub. Like this, if you go, you can download from here. Okay, I never downloaded from anything. Okay, anyway, we don't require now. Of course, it's a only pure kernel. So you can different sponsors also there for developing pure storage fastly, like this, some Google, Linux Foundation, Red Hat, like this. There are sponsoring this one. So of course, this site is belongs to Linus Torvald only. Is the guy. Okay, so this is the latest version. This is to download Linux kernel. The final point I want to say it is not final point. It is Linux distributions. I told some of the distributions of Unix distributions are very limited, and that too hardware specific. Maximum operating systems are hardware specific. Okay, like AIX, HPUX is a hardware specific only. But in Linux, of course, there is maybe hardware specifics are there, but most of the operating systems are open operating systems. Like one of the highlight operating system is Red Hat. In an enterprise level, it is also called as RHEL, RHEL, Red Hat Enterprise Linux. Okay, Red Hat is an organization, operating system is RHEL. CentOS, of course, we are using CentOS. That's I've written here. Fedora, Debian, Ubuntu or Ubuntu, whatever it is. Ubuntu desktop is there, Ubuntu server is also there. Okay. Scientific Linux. Okay, Scientific Linux. So many are there. Mandriva, SUSE, OpenSUSE. Okay. SUSE, OpenSUSE, Asia. So many are there. Atlassian, Linux Mint, like that. So Kali or Backtrack. Okay, Linux Mint, like this. Different places, different usages, different type of operating systems are there. We use Enterprise Linux. Any Enterprise Linux, we will try to use it. Oracle also having a Oracle Enterprise Linux. Okay, Oracle Enterprise Linux from Oracle. Red Hat is also now under Oracle. Okay, so Linux distributions are this one. Different type of distributions are there in Linux. So a lot of distributions. Why? Because of Linux is the kernel is open source. Anybody can take it and utilize it. There is always a simple question. What is kernel and shell? Before going to kernel and shell, I want to tell about a Windows and Linux differences. Any side you can put it, Linux and Windows differences. Guys, when it is comes to the differences, if you don't know what is the difference, you can go with their self property. It does not mean if this property is here, it does not mean other thing is not there. Like you have a mobile phone, does not mean other person don't have mobile phone, right? You have a some unique property is there. Maybe it is not there in other person. You have a property, it does not mean other person don't have. Okay, so either way you can have to understand, guys. So in that basis only. So Linux is open source operating system. Open source. Windows is not open source. Source code of Windows operating system is okay. Multiple distributions. Not proprietary. Okay, no proprietary kind of stuff. Proprietary means not it is not any particular owner is not there. Okay, not a particular owner. Anyone can take it. Not a proprietary. Proprietary. Okay, the proprietary is Microsoft. It is belongs to Microsoft. Linux is no proprietary here. No one is like it is open source. So obviously no proprietary. Okay. So multiple distributions, multiple type of distributions are there. So okay, any version by Microsoft only, not with a multiple vendors. Okay, any version is released, that is by Microsoft only. Case sensitive. No case sensitive. What is case sensitive? Cap letters, small letters, that is case sensitive. Okay. Multi-user, multitask. The single user, multitask. Okay, single user, multitask. So Linux is case sensitive, no case sensitive, multi-user, multitasking, single user, single tasking. Mm, Any other? Powerful. CLI. This one, powerful. GUI. Exactly say, based on, instead of that one, better to say like this, CLI based OS. Okay, of course, GUI is there. GUI is there, GUI less, more CLI. This is GUI is more, CLI is less. Okay, so main Linux is CLI based. Even you got a GUI screen, that is only one screen only. Okay, Windows compulsory GUI. So very less we use commands. Okay, like that. So powerful CLI, powerful GUI. Can manage or modify kernel and shell. Here it is. Not manage, not modify kernel and shell. Okay, so these are so many things are there. So we will add it later. Okay, so at least for a few 5-6 points we can say. So Linux is open source, Windows is not a open source. Not a open source means you cannot modify the operating system, can't modify or develop the operating system. It is not proprietary. It is proprietary. I written wrongly, I think so. Check it. Proprietor means like a ownership. Linux don't have any ownership because of they given as a free open source. Anyone can able to take it and develop and distribute. So Linux, specifically the name Linux, don't have any proprietaries. Of course, it is developed by Linus Torvald. Microsoft. Microsoft is an organization, and Windows is under Microsoft organizations. Multi distributions are there, multiple type of distributions are there. So in Windows, like a Windows 10, Windows servers, anything released from the Microsoft only. We don't have a multiple different type of organizations here. It is a case sensitive, no case sensitive. Multi-user multitasking, single user multitasking, powerful CLI, GLI based operating systems, kind of stuff. Of course, security, virus free, kind of stuff. Win32 virus. Yes. Less effective or no effective. Viruses effect on the, here it is. Yes. Okay. Of course, both are secure, guys. Don't think like this is secure, that is secure kind of stuff. Okay, both are secure. There is other differences are there. Root administrator kind of stuff. At least take these points. Why I'm not able to recollect anything, I don't understand. So we'll see, no problem. So see this single user multitask. This part is completed, right? So here is the features of Linux is also there. Portable, open source, multi-user, multitasking, hierarchical file system, shell, communication, security. Okay, this is the Linux architecture. So what is the Linux architecture here? So compulsory we need a this picture is enough actually. Guys, in a Linux is mainly two parts. In Linux, mainly two parts. What are the two parts of Linux is? One is kernel and another one is shell. Kernel interacts with the hardware. Actually say not Linux, any operating system. Any operating system. Okay, but in a Linux and Unix, we can see the kernel and shell how it is look like. Okay, what are the programs, modification, changes, commands we can give. In Windows operating system, we don't give any kernel commands. It is because when you do it, automatically it will background things also completed. Interacts with the hardware. Kernel interacts with the hardware. Shell user interacts with user and applications
Application.
and the commands, what we are the commands we are giving. What are the commands we are giving? Run by shell only. Okay. So there is a main important kernel and shell. Kernel interact with the hardware, shell interact with the user. So that's why this diagram is came. Like this. It's a very small diagram. So you have a hardware. Hardware means CPU, RAM, other components are there, right? So your operating system should know how to give the input and take the output kind of stuff. So it know how to interact with the hardware. Like I am speaking, my mic should receive a voice and convert into digital form and process it. And finally, I have to get some kind of outcome is there, right? So whatsoever it is done by hardware. But how to make it do it by hardware? By operating system. And in an operating system, which part? Kernel part. I have a hard disk. I want to store a data. Okay. And how I want to interact, I want to take the data from hard disk, or I want to put the data into the hard disk. Okay. So hard disk is a hardware device, or I want to create a partitions or mount the partitions, put the data, access the data. So these are all duty by kernel only because it's a hardware device. Not only just a hardware means CPU and RAM, entire hardware devices taken care by kernel. Next one is on upon it is a shell. Of course, there is a system call application kind of stuff is there. So, but whatever it is, I write only simple diagram is shell. What is this shell? When you given a command or input, you don't know how to give directly to the hardware, right? So we need a some interface. We need a some interface. That is why it is shell. Shell provide user interface. Like if a shell is GUI, graphical user interface is there. Your shell is CLI based command line interface. Okay, user interface provide a UI. Through shell only we can able to interact. Provide UI. It run like when you are given a command. Where you given a command, so then it will give you a interface. You want to run an application. You want to open some application, or you want to work with some application. Your shell will understand how to interact with it, and then convert. It acts like an interpreter. Interpreter means translator. Translator. Interpreter or a translator kind of. So what is a translator? So we understand ABCD language. Hardware understand binary language, right? So our language, what are the input we are giving? What are the type of input you are giving? It converts into kernel understandable language, and it converts and give it to the kernel. The kernel finally it is directly understand that hex code and all, and it is convert into your hardware, convert into hardware language. So I'm telling normally, I'm not stressing more. So kernel interacts with the hardware, shell interacts with the user, it provides a user interface. So when it is come to the kernel and shell, guys, again, kernel managements are there. Kernel manages disk management, process management, network management. Okay, any hardware related management, process management, network management, memory management, means RAM and ROM, swap memories also comes under. Okay. The hardware management, disk management, process management, memory management, network management. Just I'm telling normally. Go to the PPT. What is kernel? What is shell? Very important question, guys. Linux architecture. The question is Linux architecture part. Shell. Different type of shells are there. One is shell. Barney. Again shell. E shell. E shell. A shell. Like a different type of shells are there. So we are using this Barney again shell is also called as bash shell. We are using this bash shell currently. Okay, we are using bash shell. So this is a called as Linux architecture. OS architecture. This operating system architecture means operating system contains kernel and shell. Kernel will do hardware related interface, interacts with the hardware. Shell interacts with the user. In a Linux, so what are the things we can able to do with the kernel? Your hardware management, process management, network management, memory management, disk management kind of stuff. In different type of shells are there, mainly in a Linux and Unix, we use these type of interfaces, and widely we are using bash shells only. Okay. There is two more things I want to tell. One is file system hierarchy. File system hierarchy I want to tell. After break, specifically we'll tell a file system hierarchy. And now what's the time? It is good now. Take a break, guys, 10 minutes. Okay. So before that one, just I need a 1 minute. I will repeat. What is operating system? It's a software or a program. Use of operating system interact with the hardware and users running applications. Simple operating system, network operating system. Simple operating system means desktop OS. Network operating system means server OS. Okay, because network services we are providing. Single user, single task. Single user, multitask. Multi-user, multitask. Single user, multitask. Windows. Multi-user, multitask. Linux and Unix. Linus Torvald developed a Linux kernel and made it as a open source. So anyone take Linux kernel and develop their own with a shell. Okay, develop their own and they can distribute. Okay, Linux distributions are like this. Different type of Linux distributions. And Linux and Windows, mainly in a Linux, it is a case sensitive. Windows is not a case sensitive. Linux is open source, means lot of distributions are there. And in a Windows, we have a different type of editions or versions are there, whatever it is by Microsoft, not by different people. Linux is not having any proprietaries. Microsoft having a proprietary. Linux is open source. Windows is not a open source, means Windows programming backend in internal program we can't expose to anyone. Okay, multitask, multi-user type of operating system. Linux. Unix is single task, multi-user. Sorry, single user multitask operating system. And Linux is CLI based operating system, powerful CLI than a GUI. Windows is GUI based operating system, powerful GUI than a CLI. Okay, so very less virus and or less or no effective viruses. Next, hardware footprint. Resource utilization is less. Okay, hardware comparatively Windows, Linux hardware utilizations. Hardware utilization are a hardware requirement. This is the best word, hardware footprint. Means consumes less hardware resources. Okay, less processor, 1 GB RAM, 512 MB RAM, 2 GB RAM, 3 GB RAM, depends upon the requirement. You can take it. It consumes less hardware resources. Actually, it is the word actually consume less hardware resources. Okay, more resources by Microsoft. Okay. Remote access protocol is by default SSH. Here it is RDP. Okay, remote desktop protocol. Anything, anybody having any idea of difference between Windows and Linux? Okay, so we'll add it later. So Linux having kernel and shell. So kernel interacts with the hardware, shell interacts with the user. Again, we have to repeat this point. Okay, so that's why I scroll up. Okay, yeah, no problem. So we'll go to the kernel. Kernel interacts with the hardware, means it will do hardware management, process management, network management, memory, and disk management. So what are the commands we run? That we run in our interface. Who is providing that user interface? By shell only. So different type of shells are there. Barney shell, Barney again shell, T shell, K shell kind of stuff. We are using bash shell, Barney again shell only we are using, which interacts with your hardware user and run applications. What are the command you are giving on the shell? Shell interprets or translate into kernel understandable language, and give it to the processor and process it. Okay, once process is done, and take the output, convert into user understandable language and show on the screen. That is your shell UT. So this is the Linux architecture. Oh. Okay guys, take a break, 10-15 minutes. Come back at 12. Take a 15 minutes break. Actually 10 minutes only, but everybody must be before 12:10. Okay guys, understand? Everybody got silent. Okay or not okay, or any doubts?
Okay.
Okay.